Basketball, can we do the Woody really fast? Okay, let's do the Woody. And I hate to do this. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this really drove me crazy since we're talking a little bit about basketball before we get to the economy. So, this week's Woody goes to former NBA great and Clipper general manager Elgin Baylor. Yes, this past week, LA Clippers and their owner, along with the NBA, were sued by former Clipper general manager Elgin Baylor for racial discrimination. Yeah, he filed the suit. This is a guy who collected paychecks for 13 years as a player, 22 years as a GM, and now it appears they were actually discriminating against him by hiring him and paying him for those 35 years. He also says in the lawsuit that he was unceremoniously released from his GM position because he was black, or he is black. Now, this is like major league bad joke. The only bigger joke was the crummy job Elgin Baylor did for the Clippers over 2 decades. And they didn't fire him. In 22 years, under his leadership, they made the playoffs 3 times. Got thumped early every time. And now, if you follow the Clippers, which is, Sports Illustrated picked them as the worst franchise of the 20th century. They'd always get the great draft picks. He'd squander them. And when he finally got somebody decent, they would beat cheeks out of there as fast as they could. Now, the owner, Donald Sterling, lawyer, businessman, says he thinks there must be some mistake because he and the Big E are very, very close. Obviously, another bad evaluation by Sterling. Very, very close friends generally don't sue each other for racism. And I feel sorry for the Clipper fans. What do you think it's like to have a rich owner who is clueless about hoop and a general manager who was a good player but is clueless on how to direct a basketball organization? Oops. I forgot. That's what we have. It stinks. Maybe our owner, Richie Rich, can rescue Elgin from racism and bring him here to screw up the Suns even worse. I don't know if that's possible, but he could try. For stealing a paycheck for 22 years and then claiming racism, Elgin Baylor gets this week's Woody.
That's unbelievable. You know, GMs in the NBA make, I mean, he's made minimum $1 million a year the last...
He claims he was underpaid.
Well, he underperformed. Right?
He wasn't fired.
He's a punchline. So was the owner.
Exactly. I mean, can you imagine that guy filing suit?
I mean, it's bad enough that you were the worst GM ever.
Worst
worst.
Of all time. Any sport.
Because you may even get lucky. You know, look at some teams. Like, look at Tampa in baseball. Every once in a while, the stars align. You know, things happen where it's
Lightning
your
in
turn.
a bottle. That's right.
And they never even had that. I mean, and when they did a couple of years ago, it was because of Dunleavy. You know, who finally cared back then. He's completely mailing it in the last 2.5 years. But that's unreal.
They had Elton Brand, they had all that.
But you know what? It's just a perfect example. When an organization is run right, a pro franchise, good things happen all the way down. And they're the opposite. They're the antithesis of that. And
speaking of that,